Hey guys, and welcome to round 2 of Octane Online Racing, which is the Bahrain Grand Prix. So, if you guys missed the previous round, which was the Australian Grand Prix, which you guys probably did because I did not record it, I streamed half of it, then I stopped it due to some issues. So, that I ended up outside the points. I mean, not outside the points in P15. If you guys don't know how Octane Online Racing's point system works, it is like all the 20 runners get points. So starting like the person who ends up first gets 50 points and so on. It's up to 1 point, like for the last place. So going on board with our first lap here, this was not a very good lap. We just managed to put in a decent first lap as I was just getting warmed up here. So this is not such a great lap. So it is just good enough to put us in P5. Considering no one has put their lap times yet. So now let us go out for our second run of quali. I will take you on board with this lap, opening the DRS zone as early as possible, staying in 8th gear, braking just after the curb starts and going down to 2nd gear, and very careful on the throttle here, we do not want to spin, and opening the DRS as early as possible, going into 8th gear and braking at the 100-meter board and hitting the apex nice and clean, and one downshift and turn, and you can kiss the apex, I mean the curb there if you want, and just braking as the curb starts and getting a nice and a tight line here, going up to 7th gear and going to 2nd gear and managing to do it nice, but I've done it better in my practice sessions. So opening the DRS nice and early and going up into 8th gear and braking between 150 meter boards and going to 4th gear, and now this is absolutely flat out. You have to be very smooth on the steering so you don't scrub off a lot of speed, and managing to get this corner nice as well, and staying in 8th gear and braking at the 100-meter board, going down to 3rd gear and getting a nice line in this corner and opening the DRS, and that is 126.9, and still we are in P14 and we are not fighting for the top places in this because there are very fast guys compared to me, and I am like an ant in front of them. They are like elephants and I am an ant. So what I was looking for in this race is just a top 10 finish. I would grab good amount of points in my hand, and this is our final lap of qualifying and braking nicely at the 100-meter board, and yeah, we get the apex as well, nice and clean, but here we go a bit wide and deep, and that has definitely not helped us, and we wobble a bit on the curb and we have lost a bit of time there, and looks like we have gained little time but we lost it instantly, and taking this corner much better than the previous on the entry, but on the exit we completely not butcher it, but we are up by 400ths of a second, and spotting this braking point nice and clean and getting this corner absolutely nicely, and but not nicer than the previous run, and spotting our braking zone as perfect as possible. He makes way for us, which is a good thing, and we are up by 800ths of a second, and we brake nicely at the 100-meter board, but we completely miss the apex and we are down by 200ths of a second now, and it is just not good enough. We are down by 300ths of a second on our personal best. So this is how it stands after qualifying. As you can see, our teammate is in 5th place with a 125.7, and we are in 15th place with a 126.9, and and I did not do great this qualifying. I've done better in my practice runs. I was at least 4 tenths faster than the current time which I recorded in qualifying. So, as for the strategy, we are going mediums to hards, and because we are starting outside the top 10 and going soft to hards really wouldn't make sense, because it just wouldn't make sense. If I would start in the top 10s, I should have gone on the softs, and that would be one stop as well, but I would really struggle on my first stint and second stint as well at the end. So going to the grid now, it is 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights, and away we go. But we do not get a good start at all. The Renault has already taken us, and the Red Bull is side by side of Bryce Hall's, and he has taken us as well. But the Mercedes slows down here, and we kind of get him into the braking zone. But the Haas has taken us as well. And we have got an absolutely terrific in the sense, absolutely bad start, but we get the Mercedes of Dog Ryan, and Bryce also has just spun going into the second corner exit. Uh, Yasin gets us in this corner as we go a bit wide, and Dog Ryan is on our inside, but he doesn't make a move. And we manage to stay ahead of him, but we are behind Yasin, and we almost run into the back of him, but we just managed to keep it nice and clean. So now we are quite comfortably behind Yasin, but we have to watch out for the pressure from behind. But luckily, Dog Ryan is on the softs, and his tires should wear out a bit faster than mine. So still end of the start of the second lap, and we are still behind Yasin, and as someone has got a bit of an oversteery moment, and pass has completely stopped on the track. I'm not sure why. And as you can see, it was Crying who made the mistake going into the second corner's exit, and that's a very slippery corner. You have to be very careful, or else you can completely bin the race in just that one single corner. And managing to take this turn nice and tidy, we managed to just stay behind them in the DRS zone. And so this lap DRS is going to be enabled, and we are still within a second. And Crying and Yasin are kind of battling it out, and now we brake nice and easy into the first corner. We go a bit wide, and it's alright. We just managed to stay in the DRS zone, and we have a lot of overtake with us to play with. And as you can see, there is some lockup going on in the front. Crying and Yasin are, Crying is right up Yasin's tail, and we are just managing to keep within the DRS, and Dog Ryan is within our DRS as well in the soft tires. So his tires should be falling off quite soon enough. And this corner, I felt better at this game, avoiding action there. We go a bit wide on the entry, and we get the DRS, but we still are luckily within the DRS. Looks like Yasin is holding up Crying a bit as they go side by side into this corner here, and we have closed in because of their little battle there, and we get this corner nicely, and Crying gets a bit of oversteer, and Yasin goes a bit wide in that corner. Again managing to brake nice and clean as Yasin locks up a bit, and Crying has run into the back, losing a bit of his front wing, and we get the DRS, and this should be quite an easy move on Crying as he has a bit of wing damage which should slow him down by quite a bit in the corners. As you can see, we get past him quite easily there, and Yasin is still ahead of us, and he locks up going into this corner, and we get it much better than him, and we are right up his tail, and we should be getting the DRS now. I don't think we are going to be putting a move on him at this moment, but we just managed to hinder his racing line a bit, and Dog Ryan is already looking on the inside, but we managed to get the DRS, and we have a lot of overtake to play with, and we get past Yasin quite easily. I think he ran out of overtake, and we do it nice and clean, and we are in P13, and ahead of us is Trent on the soft tire. So we are in P13, but Dog Ryan doesn't manage to get past Yasin. So now skipping ahead to lap 7 now, and as you can see, I think one Felix has pitted, and he is a top runner, and he is absolutely fast. He is like very fast. So he should get us quite comfortably, but now let's focus on Trent, and there's a yellow flag in the next corner. So we managed to get this nice and easy, but there's not a major incident that has taken place. And we get a warning. That was a silly mistake from our end. I have no idea what was I thinking going into that corner, getting a warning as silly as that. Skipping on ahead to lap 7, managed to do this corner, but Juzzy has spun around. That gives us a free position, and so that brings us up to P11 now. And Bryce also is behind us, who spun on the first lap, going into the second corner exit. And some more people should be pitting at this point. As you can see in the pit lane, there are around 4 or 5 people who have pitted at this very lap, and that brings us up to P6. And Beef Stew is ahead of us, and ahead of him is Spooks. Bryce Halls is still behind us, but outside our DRS zone, which keeps us safe at the moment. So now skipping on ahead to lap 9, some more people have pitted. My teammate has pitted as well, and that brings us up to P3. And literally anything can happen at this point. There could be a safety car, so this strategy is really paying out for us. And skipping on ahead to lap 10, Bryce Halls is within our DRS. We don't really go to fight him a lot, and one Felix has got past as well, and they are side by side, and Bryce Halls locks up going into the first corner, but they manage to get us quite comfortably, and we don't fight it as much. But Parallax is behind us. He's a top runner as well. We kind of defend on the inside, but we don't really go too aggressive on the battle, because that would just hinder my race and my tires. And as you can see, behind me is Chelela and Diabolist, who is my teammate. They have pitted for the hards, and we are in P6, and we kind of hold back Chelela so that our teammate can close up on him. He gets DRS and he gets a very good exit off of that corner, but we go defensive. We don't give him a chance to go get past us so easily. We fight him, and as you can see, his cornering speed is definitely compromised, and we just let our teammate go so that we don't hold him up a bit, so that he can continue his battle with Chelela. And we are definitely not in that battle because we haven't pitted yet. So behind us is Jazzy at the moment, and he is well within DRS, and he has just gone into the pits to get an undercut on us, and we are going to be pitting this lap, trying to get the overcut on him. So ahead of us is Chelela. Looks like our teammate has gone past him, but our teammate is not to be seen in the standings. He is ahead of Bryce Halls, and coming into the pit, we have to look out for Jazzy, who is in the McLaren, the second McLaren coming in the map, if you guys are looking at it. Someone ahead of me has pitted as well, and I think it is Beef Stew and Spooks. So we have to watch out for the McLaren, who is just on the start finish straight now, but he hasn't crossed the line yet. And now he has just crossed the line, and coming off out of the pits, we are ahead of him, but the Haas gets past us. We are ahead of him, and he is within our DRS, so the gap pretty much remains the same. So no one really benefited from the undercut or my overcut. And braking nice and easy the 100-meter board, and he is still within DRS range. And at this point I had to just make sure that I wouldn't commit any silly mistakes, and I just had to be consistent and skipping on to lap 15, and he has DRS and we have a bit of overtake to play with, and he has closed up, and he is close by 2 tenths now, and we get a horrible exit coming off of this corner, and he gets one as well. I think we never managed to get a good exit off of that corner in the race because I didn't really want to risk it and hit going into the wall by destroying my race completely, and skipping on to lap 16, and he is still within our DRS, and so are we to crying. So we have the same speed as Jazzy, and we have a bit of overtake to play with as well, and we get the DRS, and he is close. He gets a very good exit off of that corner, but we managed to keep him at bay, and we fend him off at this point. So this battle is going to be a tight battle, and skipping on to lap 17, and is still and he is still within our DRS range, and so are we to crying D still. But this corner we never managed to get a good exit, and skipping on to lap 18, lap 19 now, and there is someone who has gone into the pits. That gives us one extra position. Staying consistent at this point was so crucial that if I would have made a tiny bit of mistake as well, then Jesse would have gotten past me so easily. And he is within 3 tenths now and with DRS, and we have absolutely no overtake to deploy on the straights, and we lost out on Crying's DRS as well, and we literally don't have ERS to play with, and he is coming on the outside, but we managed to break little later than him, and we are ahead, and we stay ahead, and he is side by side, and we kind of let him go here because there was no real point fighting in that corner. Now our only goal was to stay in his DRS so that he would drag us along with him, and so that we could save some of our ERS. I was really hoping for him to deploy most of his overtake. As you can see, he swoops right across the track so that I would stay out of his slipstream, and spotting my braking zone quite nice. He in this corner he always managed to pull away a little or close in to me, but this corner we actually gain a bit of time, but managing to keep it on the track luckily. And behind us is Trent on the medium tires, so I think he's going on the 2-stop, and we are within his DRS, but we literally have not much ERS that we can overtake him on this straight. So just saving some of our ERS, and our fuel is on 0.3 if I'm not wrong, but we don't really notice it at this point in the race. We just kept an eye on our ERS, but we still managed to stay within his DRS. And at this point, like I said, I really wasn't concentrating on my fuel. The only thing I was concentrating on was my ERS, and on lap 24 we get past him, and I'm sure that he didn't have a lot of ERS, and we make a bit of contact, and I'm sure he didn't have a lot of ERS to fight, and we have a bit of ERS still left, and we don't really get past him on this occasion. He manages to defend on the inside, and our fuel, we are definitely running out of fuel, and at this point of the race we still don't notice the fuel. The only thing we kept our eye on is the overtake, and we still managed to stay within his DRS, and we kind of get a good exit off that corner. But skipping on to lap 25 now, we are definitely closing in, and I'm sure he's struggling with his ERS. I spoke to him after the race, and he told me that he was running out of fuel as well. And it was like a very similar situation to mine, but I still managed to stay within the DRS, and he has just pulled away a little on that corner. And skipping on to lap 27 now, we were very close to our personal best. Skipping on to lap 27, we are trying to save some of our overtake for the penultimate lap of the race so that we can get past him. We really didn't want to leave it to the final lap, and we deploy a bit of overtake here, but not much. We immediately go off overtake, but as you can see, our fuel is literally on the edge. Literally on the edge, so we had to run a bit of lean as well in this part of the track. Now skipping on to the end of lap 27, we are still within DRS, and I am sure he is not within the DRS of the car ahead of Aspect in the Williams, and we have a lot of ERS. Now we literally get past him, and he was definitely struggling on his ERS by the looks of it. And there is a car which is lapped, and looks like the car is disconnected. That is Yasin, who was ahead of us at the start of the race, and Jesse, we managed to keep him behind, and we have a bit of fuel left. And skipping on ahead, we get our braking zone quite on the spot, and an Aspect has just spun around, and it was so crucial for me not to make any mistakes at this point. One mistake would have caused me to spin and butcher my race in just one corner. So it was so crucial, and this is the start of the last lap of the race, and this is the last lap. After all this, if I would have made a mistake in this lap, I would be kicking myself. And we are literally running out of overtake, but we managed to keep him behind still. And we don't have a lot of we have a bit of fuel. We saved a bit of fuel. We noticed the fuel in the last 2 laps or something, and we don't have overtake, but we managed to fend him off at this point. And as you can see, we are closing up on the guys ahead, that is Crying and Beef Stew, and I think ahead of them is Bryce Halls. And skipping to the end of lap 29, we have definitely closed up on Crying, Beef Stew and Bryce Halls. So at this point I haven't really checked who has what penalties. So Crying Stew locks up a bit, and he has just spun around in the last corner of the race, and we managed to come home in P8. So we get a handful of points with our teammate who has just won the race. I am so happy for him, and that is a lot of points that our team has put in the bag this weekend in Bahrain. This was completely opposite from last week's round, which was the Australian GP, which was horrible. As you can see, our teammate is 134 this fastest lap, and we are at 131.0. It's like within a second, but still very happy for the team as well. And that's it for this round, and the next round is gonna be Vietnam. And like I said, this round and many more rounds in the future, I'm not really hoping to fight at the top. I'm just hoping to get top 10 or anything. So this was the end. This was it for today's episode, and we will see you next week for Vietnam Grand Prix. And I won't be really streaming all of this live, because I don't want it causes my game to lag, and I don't want it to happen between my league races, which is a very bad thing and too risky. I tried it in Australia, but that didn't really work out. So I'll be just recording and I'll be posting highlights. Wouldn't want to waste a lot of your time by doing live, I guess. So that's it for this episode. We'll see you on the next one.